Everyone, and welcome to PANdemonium, where we're going to be finally taking a closer look at the PUBG Mobile player cards after PMWC 2024, and after that we're going to be diving also into our predictions for who might just be the best players at the end of this year in PUBG Mobile esports. And with that said, let's get right into the first set of cards.
So to start things off, Max, we're going to be taking a look at our teams in 6th through 10th place. And off the bat, the first one that's going to stand out to me is going to be Frozen in 10th place, coming in for IWNRX. And I think the first thing that's going to stand out for me when it comes to this player is the fact that his team finished 14th overall, and yet he managed to get himself into our top 10 MVPs of the event, which is not easy to do whatsoever, and also kind of shows that he was definitely the heavy lifter of the team. But the thing for me with Frozen is we've always talked about him for years now. When he came into the scene as such a young player, we got to see a glimpse of what he could potentially push out in terms of eliminations and damage and pressure on a lobby. And I feel like maybe we're starting to get to see it out of him, which has taken a little bit of time, but hey, as long as you get there in the end, that's all that matters. And then the other player that's going to stand out to me here is in 6th place for Doc. Now, for VMAX, you and I had extremely high hopes for them coming into PMWC. I had them picked as my team to win, but they were unfortunately a little bit of a letdown. Coming in at 12th place, but Doc, he had the 3rd highest damage at 6,800, but he also had the worst survival time out of anyone in our top 10, which to me says, Max, when he comes into these matches, when he came into PMWC, he was guns blazing, looking for those eliminations. But unfortunately, 4MV just fell a bit short.
And now, Jason, it's finally time for us to check out the top 5 players of PMWC and their cards. And really looking at the top 5, we've got players from all over the globe. We've got players from South Korea, Japan, China, and Brazil. And as you talk about Brazil here, Jason, I need to talk about Mafioso and Revo, which in my eyes, the recent success from Alpha 7 in winning their first ever international trophy is mostly due to them, alongside Carrillo, of course. But man, Revo and Mafioso, when they start fragging out in a game, it almost seems impossible to stop that fragging spree. And I'm very excited to see how that's going to transition in PMGC. Though, looking at the actual stats of Revo and Mafioso, they almost completely fill out the diagram as you would expect from these top players. But it's very funny because Revo has a little bit lower assists compared to a lot of players on this list, and I think he's just not quite willing to share the eliminations. He's just hoarding all those points for himself. So I do respect that when it comes to Revo. Though, it is finally time here, Jason, to take a look at our MVP of PMWC, which is none other than Reiji Osio. This guy has been on fire in 2024, and in my eyes, he is the player that has put Japan on the map when it comes to PUBG Mobile eSport, and I am very excited to see if this man can maybe do the Grand Slam. There's a lot of stuff on the line here for Reiji Osio, but clearly, damage-wise, elimination-wise, I'm very impressed, and most importantly, sure, it's shown that he plays with the M4, but his secondary top weapon, I can almost assure you, is the Mini 14. This guy, at any kind of range, is an absolute menace. And I'm very happy to see that he was in fact the MVP and gets an extra golden card here after PMWC, which I think he truly, truly deserves.
Well, Max, as we did take a look at our top 10 players, for me, I feel like there's a player missing. It's a support player, and support players typically don't get a lot of love when it comes to these because MVPs are based heavily off of damage, eliminations. But for me, looking at Frenzy coming in from Boom, we did a little bit of a calculation behind the scenes of like how we would rank a support player. And man, he had an insane combination of stats to be ranked #1 support player in our books of PMWC. The amount of smokes he was using, the amount of times he rescued a teammate, which he had the most rescues out of any other player in the entirety of PMWC, are some of the contributing factors. We're not going to give away that formula because you know what? That's private property, private intellectual property. But Max, who did you want to see in that top 10 that potentially did, or that didn't make it?
Well, you know what? At least the supports can have some stats to back who's going to be up there. I'm going to choose an IGL, which I think, like, you can't really say who's the best IGL based on stats, but I have to give it over to Sara, right? This guy, I think, is the unsung hero of Japan throughout this year after doing so great on PMGO and now PMWC. And one of the main reasons why Reiji Osio is MVP in those two events is because, guess what? They keep getting themselves in great positions in almost every single one of their matches. So Sara, we might not talk too much about him on the broadcast, but man, does he do a lot of work in the back to make sure his team can reach their heights on these global events.
So Max, taking a look towards the future here, who will be our top players towards the end of the year? How about we give a list here of our top 4? Off the bat for me, I'm going to go with Reiji Osio, just because he plays so well at PMGO and PMWC, that should almost guarantee him a spot in top 4. And we got, I'm going to put Revo. It's going to be one player from Alpha 7 for sure, at least in our top 4. I'm also going to put Tony K because performance back at SCA Finals where he really showed what he can do and that he is a star player. And I didn't really have a fourth player, but if I was to put one in there, I think it would definitely be Doc. And I'm a little bit biased because of what we've done with PMSL CSA watch parties.
I like that list. I think that's a good list. And you know what? I'm going to steal Regiosio also because, I mean, why would you not?
He's mine.
Well, too late. I picked him too. So what are you going to do? Revo Mafioso. I'm taking the duo of Alpha 7. I feel like their success recently has been because of this core fragging duo. So they're looking great. And my final player, for nostalgia's sake, I'm going to go to Top. I really want to see him just back up there with Falcons. You know, I've been a little bit sad off the PMWC, Jason. So there's still hope in me that it's going to work out.
Copium.
But that's going to be it anyways for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the cool cards and the pentagrams all over the place. And we'll be checking in after 2024 PMGC to see how accurate our predictions were. I hope they'll be good, so we'll catch you guys next time.